Alright guys, I think I really need to come clean about what's been going on behind the scenes and why I've been playing Battlefield 2042 so much. I've seen probably a few thousand comments on my videos and my stream so far with people suspecting that EA has been paying me to promote Battlefield 2042. And well, there's something I need to say. No. Absolutely not. I am not getting paid by EA to play Battlefield 2042. I haven't been paid by EA for any Battlefield 2042 promotional material, period. I don't think I've even worked with EA on any paid contracts since like 2019, which would have been for like an NVIDIA RTX promotional thing. And before that, I think the last time I was paid by them was for a 2016 Battlefield 1 live stream thing that I did with Drifter and Whiteboy. Seriously, it's been like barely any paid contracts between myself and EA over the past 6 years of doing YouTube. And those paid promotions were disclosed. People have been calling my credibility into question because I'm playing a game that I guess the internet has deemed unplayable. And the only possible reason for me doing so, according to many of the commenters, is because EA is paying me to do so. And while I could see how somebody might think that that's happening behind the scenes, I myself didn't understand FTC guidelines back in the early days of doing YouTube. Let me explain the basics to anyone who doesn't know them, as I think it'll clear up a lot of stuff. It would be illegal and highly finable for me to avoid disclosing any sort of sponsorships. Both myself and EA could be fined massively for breaking the FTC guidelines. And as a viewer, it's not really your responsibility to know that, but if you didn't know that, well, now you do. And on top of having to disclose any sort of paid promotional material, I also have to disclose any favoritism as well. Like if EA gave me a game key for free, or if I get invited to record some early access gameplay, I also have to disclose that. So if you see me streaming, making video content, or tweeting, and it doesn't have some sort of disclosure, then simply put, it's not paid or part of any sort of contractual obligation. And to go a step further, I don't have any sort of marketing deal. I don't have an open dialogue with somebody at EA that is thinking about paying me for something down the road. I'm not vying for a job at EA. I'm not even trying to stay in their good graces. I do YouTube for the same reason that most people get into YouTube gaming, and that's to play the games that I love for a living. And the thing is, I actually try to work as close to this initial concept as possible. Play games I love, not just games that are trending and will make me money. The idea that I'm playing Battlefield 2042 because it's somehow going to make me a lot of money is honestly laughable, and anyone in the YouTube or content creator sphere can certainly back that up. There is next to no money in covering Battlefield 2042 these days. Now, of course, somebody could make the argument that if the franchise does well, starts to rebound, then my views will go up and ultimately I'll make more money on YouTube, which is technically true. But also, if I thought that I could single-handedly convince the entire player base of people to play 2042 more to increase my YouTube revenue, well then you have seriously overestimated my ego. Not to mention my ability to change public sentiment about a game that is clearly riddled with problems. It would also be a completely moronic business model, and it would be infinitely easier just to pivot over to a different game where there's more interest. Pretty much every YouTuber who started covering Battlefield along with me over the years has pivoted away from the franchise at one point or another. And I can't blame them. You would too if doing YouTube was your sole source of income. I'm lucky enough to have diversified my income sources along the way, and I don't have to treat this gaming channel as my money lifeline. And that is despite my video editor's protest. He would certainly like to get paid more, and I'm selfishly playing a game that I enjoy and making less money because of it. And I'm not trying to frame myself as some noble gamer. I just like playing Battlefield games. It's why I got into YouTube in the first place, but I gotta say, it is the weirdest experience for me to actually play a game that I'm legitimately enjoying, willing to make less money doing so, and still being called a sellout. In fact, being called a sellout way more than I ever have. And I mean, that's some pretty good irony right there. Now, the point of this video isn't to discuss 2042's shortcomings, as I've spent hours doing that on this channel already, and I do absolutely understand people's frustration with this game as I share those frustrations, and I'm tired of DICE releasing unfinished, poorly tested games. Like many, I was expecting them to really knock it out of the park with this one, especially due to Battlefield 5's disastrous release and them not wanting to repeat that. That being said, my experience playing 2042 hasn't been even close to the barely functional chaos that I see posted daily on Reddit. I understand that some may be struggling to get the game to run properly, especially on last-gen consoles, or some simply don't enjoy the gameplay and direction with the game, and that's absolutely justified. I wouldn't argue that anyone else's experiences or feelings are invalid regarding 2042, but it hasn't been my personal experience, and all I can do really is stay true to my experience and what I like. Honestly, the launch of 2042 reminds me so much of the launch of Battlefield 4. Battlefield 4 was loaded with bugs when it came out, and the game was practically a copy of Battlefield 3, so it had even less excuses to be as barely functional as it was. The community called it Battlefield 3.5 for like the first year's worth of content. Many gamers I knew couldn't even make it through the loading screen without crashing a desktop, and there was a big group of people from Battlefield 3 that I had played with regularly who just stopped playing with BF4 due to the many problems. Lucky for me though, I didn't have too many of the truly problematic technical issues with BF4, and so I find myself in a similar situation now, enjoying 2042 and not being able to relate to as many of the technical issues that others are experiencing. Sure, my game will crash from time to time, but I would say that 2042 crashes for me at about the same rate that most feature complete games crash that I play as well, so it just doesn't feel out of the ordinary. Now, of course, I am experiencing all of the standard bugs and problems that come with the game, and maybe I just have a high tolerance for buggy games at this point. I mean, I am a diehard Battlefield fan, so I guess you'd have to be to stick with the franchise throughout the years, as DICE has released many a buggy game. Now, I saw a post the other day claiming that now is the time for other publishers to sweep in and take advantage of the massive hole that DICE has left in this market with its underperforming title. And I saw another post today saying that they wish DICE would fail in repairing this game so that another developer could show DICE how to make a real Battlefield game. And honestly, it kind of made me laugh a bit, because DICE has left this hole in the market since they shifted away from modern military in 2015 after Battlefield 4. That's like 6-ish years for any other developer to swoop in and make a competing Battlefield game. And certainly several tried. Heck, even Call of Duty tried to replicate the Battlefield formula, but it didn't really have that special sauce. And ultimately, I think I'm starting to realize the reason why others fail is also the reason why I stick with Battlefield. DICE, whether it was through genius or luck, stumbled upon a magical gaming formula, one that's been nearly impossible for others to replicate. And it's possible that this formula won't stand the test of time. Certainly, the Battle Royale genre has given the traditional shooter world a run for its money. And believe me, I do understand that many players believe DICE has eroded their magical formula somewhat with 2042, and I am inclined to agree with that to an extent. Specialists didn't really help the formula, and the 128 players was not properly tested and has led to many additional problems. But to be perfectly honest, for me, it kind of gave a different flavor to the formula that I still love. Kind of like cherry Coke to regular Coke. Sure, I prefer normal cola, but I certainly don't hate cherry Coke. And that analogy does not work at all if you really hate cherry Coke. Now, I'm certainly not giving DICE a pass for their screw-ups. I think my feedback has generally been on point with this game, and that does mean being critical of its mistakes. That includes the lack of communication about the game's current direction. I'm not sitting here thinking that DICE is doing a fantastic job or anything like that. And also, the gaming time that I've put into this title has been considerably less than past titles, mostly due to it having less content, and that's further seen with the general player base fall off. If even diehards like me are playing less, then well, the overall player numbers will go down, as is being seen and reported on widely. But I do also believe that DICE is working on making this game better. They've improved every single Battlefield game in the history of Battlefield games, and I haven't seen any arguments compelling enough to convince me that this one won't improve as well. And maybe I'm wrong on that, but I really don't think so. My only real fear is that the game gets the same or less support as Battlefield 5 does and isn't able to reach its full potential. And the reason why I'm not putting the game down right now and coming back to it at a later date to see how it's improved is because, well, simply put, I'm still enjoying playing it. And sure, that's going to have its own time limit. The content is going to get dry at some point, but it's not yet for me. And hopefully DICE will have something fresh by the time that even diehards like myself start to get bored. Anyway, I wasn't planning on making a video like this, but the comments about me getting paid to play 2042 are so out of control. And the hate that people have been aiming toward anyone who wants to stream this game is just ridiculous, and it makes me honestly embarrassed for the community. Criticize the game all you want, but don't threaten developers into deleting their social media accounts or shame streamers and content creators for playing what they actually enjoy. There's a fervor right now that is so far beyond anything I've ever seen in all my years of covering Battlefield. And believe me, EA knows the game isn't doing well. The message is received and observed, and I'm not saying that anyone should back down with their feedback or suggestions, but why try to ruin the experience for people that are legitimately enjoying it? I don't really understand that thought process. Anyway, at the very least, I hope this video clears up any misconceptions about me being paid to play this game, and maybe it'll even make one or two people think twice about what they say toward developers or content creators. I hope you guys have a good day and that you're able to play some games that you truly enjoy. I'll see you guys next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.